Welcome to the Weekly Wars podcast, where two guys who talk about Star Wars way too much have decided to record it and let you listen. Be sure to check every Wednesday to get the latest episode. And now to Zach and Rhett.
Welcome to Weekly Wars, your weekly dose for all things Star Wars.
Hey, remember like 3 minutes ago when you were all like, oh, you can do the opening on this one?
Well, why did you cue me then?
Because you told me you need a countdown.
Whatever, I only need it when I'm the first one talking.
Wow, okay. Well, now that we're going, you can have it again, I guess.
Ha! Deal with it. I didn't want you to have it anyways.
Wow.
Ha ha.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Weekly Wars. This week we are talking about, well, we're actually going into part 2 of one of our ongoing series about lightsaber reviews. Dun dun dun.
We are going to be reviewing all of the lightsaber on lightsaber fights found in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. We realized when we did the lightsaber review before, it was kind of lengthy. And so we're going to try and
much
just do
longer than we anticipated. For some reason, we thought those fights could be condensed into a single half-hour episode.
And we were wrong, but that's okay. We cut it up for you so it wouldn't be too much too quickly. But there are 4 fights in this one. We're going to try and get through them. The first one, there's not a heck of a lot to talk about because I think me and Rhett generally agree it's just not the best. But
so, yeah, to start, it is Obi-Wan and Anakin versus Count Dooku on the bridge of the command ship for the Separatist forces.
Episode 3.
In the Siege of Coruscant. Dooku had just absconded with Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, and they decide to confront him. So in terms of plot, I guess there's that. That's
what's nice about the
though.
movie is you actually understand everything that's going on at the beginning. Like the opening paragraphs actually explain the scenario, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, it is a good in media res opening for one of the prequels.
Yep. And then, of course, none of that matters after 10 minutes. But at least for this start, it does okay.
So, yeah, I guess, I mean, to the plot of the film in its entirety, it doesn't mean a whole lot.
So maybe we should re-explain those elements that we discuss for the reviews.
Good point.
So we do a best of 5 rating, a point rating for plot relevance, best of 5, choreography, best of 5, and emotional impact, best of 5. We feel that sort of captures the different aspects of what a lightsaber fight should be in a Star Wars movie.
Or any fight in any movie. But since we're Star Wars nerds, this is what we're specifically applying it to.
We've watched enough Kung Fu movies. Do we actually think that there's supposed to be plot relevance?
There should. That doesn't make it a terrible fight when there's not, but
I guess that's true.
I mean,
like, great.
The boy with the golden arm would get a 5 out of 5 on every fight scene for choreography, but only like a 0 on everything else.
I don't know. They emotionally impacted me because I was like, this is insane. What is going on?
That's true. Anyways, so yeah, first point being plot relevance. That plot of the Chancellor being kidnapped gets wrapped up within the first half hour. So the only plot that it serves is the plot of
Anakin
the fall,
turning to the dark side.
Yeah.
So it does have some relevance in terms of what happens. The fact that it's Dooku, like, it's just Dooku's not very set up. He doesn't even really show up in episode 2 until the very end. And my understanding is that scene with Obi-Wan where Dooku comes and tells Obi-Wan to join the dark side was an afterthought because they thought Count Dooku should make an appearance in the movie before the final scene.
Right, for some reason, because that appearance didn't add a whole ton.
No, it didn't.
So this battle between them is like, it's not so much as the epic confrontation between 3 generals on opposing sides of ideology that's shaping the galaxy for decades to come. It's just like these three dudes are having a tussle.
They're fighting again. And this is just if you've seen the movies, right? If you've seen the Clone Wars, there's a lot more meaning to it.
Right. As always, the Clone Wars makes that significantly more significant.
Including the non-CG Clone Wars, the cartoon, which I guess isn't canon anymore. But
for some stupid reason.
That also adds some significance to another character that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, so it's... but again, in terms of just the film context, it's like half of the plot relevance is immediately done with once they land the ship back on Coruscant. Like it's like, oh, that thing's done.
Another happy landing. We just destroyed that tower, probably full of people, but another happy landing.
Whatever. Don't talk about collateral damage. That's for dummies.
Stupid Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh my! You say that one more time. I will lose it.
I'm not the one who said it. He said it.
You said stupid Obi-Wan Kenobi. That is what I take offense to.
He was the one who said the phrase. It's just so dumb.
Whatever.
So
Get
dumb.
over it. Anyways, so I have given this. I think I'm gonna go with a 2 on it because I do find the killing of Dooku a significant thing overall. I wish it'd been set up more. I wish that was more impactful.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see more of the Emperor's influence on Anakin.
If that had been, the first step towards the dark side, rather than like him murdering dozens of Tuskens 10 years earlier or 5 years earlier or whatever, that'd be different, right? But since it's like, oh, he's already murdered dozens of innocent people. Why does he falter at...
Plus, this is fairly justified in a war situation.
Right. It was execution style, but the
right thing to do was to take him in, but he is extremely powerful and evil and horrible and has been murdering all sorts of people and enslaving people.
Right. And again, with the Clone Wars, like, he does all kinds of mad things behind the scenes, right? Like he's doing all this stuff, manipulating people, killing people, torturing Padawans, just like he's just crazy evil, which is awesome. But you didn't get that in the movie. So when he kills him there, it's like he just murdered that dude, and that was just another murder in a serial murdering spree that he had been on before.
So I agree with you. I would, for just movies by themselves, a 2 out of 5. If you include the Clone Wars, I'll give it a 3 out of 5. If you've watched the Clone Wars cartoon, it's more of a 3 out of 5. It has more meaning at that point.
Right. I would agree with that. As far as the choreography goes, I really don't think there's anything special in that. There's nothing that would really make you go like, "Ooh, wow." The 2 versus 1 stuff is, again, lame because you just have people waiting.
The Maul fight was much better than this in the 2 versus 1 aspect.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, I think that has to deal with Christopher Lee as an actor and his age, or when they used a stunt double and CG'd his head on, that provides limitations as well. So it's just... It's one of those, like, there's not a whole lot they could have done to make it more interesting, which is why Dooku should have been a more intellectual character. Like, they shouldn't have feared him for his lightsaber abilities. They should have feared him for other things. And also, I just find it ridiculous that Obi-Wan has to suffer the Worf effect.
Get knocked out of the fight by being freaking crushed.
Having his legs... just obliterated.
When you watch it too, like it lands on him and then like moves his body, and you're all like, "Did that just sever his legs?"
Right. It's like, wow, he will never walk again, and then he's walking in 5 minutes.
You're like, oh, wait, what?
And so, just to explain myself, the Worf effect is TV Tropes. TVTropes.org is a website. I think we may have mentioned it previously, but in other podcasts, but. It comes from Star Trek, and Worf from The Next Generation was a Klingon who was a greatly revered and respected and talented and amazing warrior who in almost every single fight he got into would be immediately taken out. And it's kind of a cheap writing tactic, because when you have a character who could immediately rectify the situation through their prowess, you have to remove that character somehow in order to increase tension. So having Obi-Wan awake for the entire fight would have just made things silly, because both Obi-Wan and Anakin should have easily taken Dooku quickly.
And I don't even know if that's what George was thinking. I think that's giving him too much credit. I think he just wanted Obi-Wan knocked out so he couldn't see Anakin cut off Dooku's head. That's my assumption. Yeah. But I really don't know. But what you're saying is true, too. And I think Peter from Heroes is another really good example of that.
Right. He just loses his powers for no reason.
Yeah. All the time they find reasons for him to get his powers knocked out, or for it to be contained, or whatever. Like, you spend the entire season with them finding new excuses every episode to come up with a reason he can't use his powers.
And even on top of that, again, going to the Clone Wars, if once you watch the Clone Wars and then you go back and watch Revenge of the Sith, it's like one of those moments of like, are you freaking serious again? Because the Clone Wars, one of the detriments of the Clone Wars is that they employed that tactic fairly often. It's like, oh, we have to have Anakin and Ahsoka have a moment, but Obi-Wan's already there, so Obi-Wan gets knocked out. And it's like, for what the crap is going? He's a freaking Jedi Master on the Council. He should not be getting knocked out like that. Good flippin' night.
Excuse me, you might hear me sniffle a little bit. I got allergies. But, well, yeah, there's lots of moments like that in the Clone Wars where it's all like, why don't you just use the Force to deal with the situation? Did you just forget that you had the Force?
Yeah, and with the Clone Wars, he's fought Force to Force with Dooku before. So when he goes to Force push him, that's not like something he's expecting. Like that, he should have been expecting. Again, that's a writing flaw.
Oh yeah, it is,
and it's pretty terrible. So I would actually give this like a 1.5 for arbitrary reasons.
For the choreography.
Yeah,
it wasn't that inspired. It's better than a lot of the garbage I've seen. So yeah, it automatically gets like a 1.5 or a 2.
Maybe of an interesting note is that this is one of those areas where lightsabers, when Anakin cuts off Dooku's hands, it's one of those things where it's like it really makes people question how lightsabers work, like what the physics of everything are, because up until then, it was assumed that lightsabers just stick together. They bind on impact, and you can only unbind by moving away from it, whereas it makes it look like Anakin slides his lightsaber down Dooku's blade and then cuts off his hand, which is just kind of a... If that's possible, then cross guards should have been a thing for much longer.
Yeah, they should have been all over the place for lightsabers.
I mean, because that is a huge disadvantage. If someone could just do that every time, they should have just done that every time. I mean, obviously, there's other factors that go into place with that, but it's a pretty glaring weakness if that's a thing. And so it's kind of the question, like, is that how they actually work? Is there something going on that we didn't understand? Well, obviously there was, but is that in universe, or is that just like a writing thing, like, or a mistake in choreography? So anyways, I just thought I'd bring that up. I mean, the idea of lightsabers binding is is something that I really like, because that is a historical thing in actual sword fights. When you have two sharp edges meet, the sharp edges will bite into each other, so you have an actual bind, and they don't just slide around. They will stay there until they unbind or whatever. So that aspect of the lightsabers makes it super awesome. But then if Anakin can disregard those rules because he's the chosen one, it's like, well, why even what's
that
even
doesn't
going
even
on.
make any sense.
Throws logic out the window. Anyways, so emotional impact.
Well, I didn't care about the fight at all, and I wasn't convinced that Anakin was any more evil than before. I
Or
wasn't,
twice
like,
as powerful as before.
Gosh, the
like
dialogue. Oh my gosh.
what?
Double the power.
I mean,
twice the power, double the fall. What does he say? Oh my
Christopher
gosh.
Lee can actually make it sound kind of interesting.
Oh, he delivers it great.
But it's just like everything else. I mean, and the sad thing too about like Ian McDiarmid is that he is a great actor, but what he's doing as Palpatine is just silly. It's like I don't know, childish to an extent when he's sitting there on the throne, just kind of doing his like, get him. It's like what is even going on over there? Why is he?
He's sitting there making little evil noises.
Right.
Like,
And then it's way too obvious that he's trying to get Anakin to do something evil. I mean,
Do
like,
it.
yeah, like, I mean, that's obviously the callback, right? It's trying to be the fight at the end of Return of the Jedi, but it fails just terribly. And him trying so hard should have been Anakin's moment where he's like, wait, you're a giant douche. I'm not going to listen to you. And I'm taking you in.
Golly gee.
So I would say emotional impact is 1 out of 5 on that.
That's being generous. I give it a 0 out of 5.
Right. I think this might be a time to bring up that for me personally, I do give a lot of low ratings for some of these things. But that is just the one side of it for me, because I can still watch the prequels and have fun, even though I do spend a good chunk of my time talking about how dumb they were.
I generally can't rewatch the prequels. Sometimes I do, but generally I don't.
Yeah, I do it every now and then. I mean, at least once a year, I watch all the movies. And with a young son, I also watch the prequels a little bit more than the original because they are more colorful and bright and lightsabers everywhere. But it is definitely just a weird thing that I do where even if I like something, I still talk about how dumb things were.
Hey, I love cheesy movies and they're horrible and I still watch them. It's just the way I am. So I get that. It's okay. The internet forgives you, Rhett.
Oh, good. The next fight up is the Obi-Wan Kenobi versus General Grievous fight.
So, and this is another one in terms of relevance that has way more meaning if you'd seen the CG Clone Wars to some extent, but much more meaning to the character of Grievous if you've seen the regular cartoon animated one, the non-CG Clone Wars series they did. General Grievous was crazy in that. Like, he was scary, and I almost want to include a YouTube link. Maybe I will if you haven't seen it, just so you can see him killing and hunting down Jedi and them live like they're afraid of him.
Even a Jedi Master like Ki-Adi-Mundi is terrified. I mean, you know, as terrified as he could be of Grievous.
In fact, if I remember right, what happens is Ki-Adi-Mundi's like, we can't leave. We have to kill this thing now.
Right.
We cannot let this get out.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we have to go. Otherwise, there won't be anyone left or something like that.
And then as Padawan gets taken, Shaak Ti almost gets taken out. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there are several Jedi Masters that are present when Grievous is taking them down, and there's nothing they can do about it because he is actually that good.
He is that good.
He's in concept.
and then you see him capture the Chancellor in the cartoon. He's the one who infiltrates and captures him. He goes on to Coruscant.
Yep.
And does that successfully, no less. Faces Mace Windu, and Mace Windu is the one who crushes his lungs, and that's why he wheezes.
Yeah.
And when I saw the movie first, I didn't have any of that context. I didn't know any of that. I was just like, this is the dumbest villain. He looks so amazing. He looks so cool. And he's just so dumb. So dumb. I don't even know why he's here. And then I see that and I'm like, this is what he was supposed to be. What happened to that guy?
Yeah.
That's the scary hunter of Jedi collecting lightsabers that they're afraid of.
Right. These people that are supposed to be above fear are feeling fear
are like,
when they see him.
Crap.
But again, that's like Obi-Wan and Anakin don't even show that a little bit. I mean, I can understand if like they are somewhat used to him based on the wars that the Clone Wars as long as they've been fighting, they've faced him before. So it's like, oh, he's not completely terrifying, but they still should have some of that. Or even something like with Anakin, it could have been when they first meet him on the ship, it could have had a little more of like, oh, you've murdered Jedi. I want to take you down for that.
Right.
You don't really get that.
No, they're just sort of like la-di-da. And then when Obi-Wan goes to confront Grievous, he just jumps in the middle of everyone and is all like, hey, dude, let's fight.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of you or this giant army.
Right,
because...
this is fine. No tension whatsoever because this doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would say in terms of plot, Obi-Wan fighting Grievous has almost nothing to do with it. I mean, like,
it's just to get him away while Anakin turns evil, I guess.
Yeah, give Anakin... Again, it's like contriving reasons to have Obi-Wan out of the picture, because if he was there, Anakin wouldn't have done the things he did. So I definitely give that like a 1 out of 5 for plot. Also, I do find it hilarious that it's like, let's kill him and end the war. But in Attack of the Clones and in the Clone Wars TV show, you see there are literally dozens, if not like hundreds of other leaders of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. So how does killing Dooku
what the heck
didn't
happened?
end it?
They're like, oh, by the way, now that we have General Grievous, we're going to attach all of the robots with a thing that if he dies, you all die.
Right.
Okay, let's go install this. La-di-da. Like, I understand the Emperor's trying to set things up so they get taken over, but if I was the Republic general and I was all like, yeah, if we kill Grievous, it kills all the robots, I'd be like, why?
Yeah. How does that make sense?
What?
I've literally fought 30 other generals that have slightly less power than Grievous, so any one of them could assume control afterwards.
Right. What?
And it's like in the Legends they played with that. Like, killing the Emperor didn't stop the Empire; it just shifted power to Thrawn. Like I mean, I don't know. It's not like a power vacuum just cripples the droids.
Well, even in The Force Awakens, the Empire and Republic just split. Like, the Empire's not dead. They just split.
Yeah. So it's silly that that's their main point of finding Grievous is to end the war immediately.
Right.
It's like, no,
That's
maybe
so
just
arbitrary.
like, attack a factory while that's going down. Like, go find another place they're making droids.
Or like they come up with a new tool that, like an awesome EMP that they just are able to mass implement.
Right.
Something like that.
So, yes, regardless, it doesn't have any plot relevance.
No, pretty much nothing.
As far as choreography, I think it is interesting some of the things they were trying to do. I do have to say, even though Obi-Wan jumps down in the middle of everything for no good reason, and that's a great way to get himself killed, the concept of him, like, if you take out the entire army of droids surrounding them, him taking out the Magna Guards is pretty awesome, and then how he deals with Grievous is pretty awesome too. His tactics...
It's true.
Sound.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's not him jumping down isn't really the fight choreography. I would say it's just sort of a dumb way. I mean,
yeah, it's a dumb way to introduce.
The only reason I have a problem with it is one, there's no tension, and two, because he sneaks in and then announces his presence.
Right.
If he had just like flown a ship in and was super awesome, just flew in and landed, and was like, "Here I am, let's do this."
Right.
You know, like, or crashed through a whole bunch of them,
or set off some explosion and just like blew up the army, and then it was like, hey, Grievous.
Exactly. Do something heroically about it. Not
Yeah, the intro is pretty weak. His choreography, or I think the choreography is fun.
I would have liked to have seen Grievous do more with the 4 lightsabers before they got it immediately, but
that's the detriment. I think.
What you're saying makes sense from a how would you fight that perspective?
Yeah,
immediately disarm.
You take them out. Well, and even like when they're spinning and he catches both of them, it's like that took timing. That took that's a stratagem that he came up with at that moment. To time it perfectly, block both of them, gives him an opening, and then he takes off the 2 hands. Like that's good tactics, and that's what he should have done.
Necessarily super cool looking.
Yeah, from a story perspective, it's like, well, that was quick, and there's no tension anymore because now it's just a normal fight against a guy that doesn't have any advantages over a Force wielder.
And then they go to stage 2 of the video game fight, which is the chase part of the boss fight. They have the chase.
Absolutely a video game.
And then they have the final fight where he has to shoot him in the chest, the exposed chest. Expose the chest. It was almost like there's like a narrator. Like, there's the heart. Shoot the heart.
Whatever happens too, there's something that happens where it's like his cavity opens and it's like
Obi-Wan
even
rips
like
it open.
Glowing. Well, yeah, he does the thing,
yeah.
but it's like even like glowing, like it's
just
got
like
a
in a
green
video
sack,
game,
and
right?
then it gets on fire. And...
See, this is the target.
It's like highlighted. There's a fairy floating right next to it.
Navi's all like, here.
Targeting engaged.
But technically, that's not the lightsaber fight at that point. So
That's
I guess
true.
maybe, I don't know.
That's outside of this purview, outside the jurisdiction.
Gosh.
No, it is just a silly thing. So as far as emotional impact, choreography, I'm gonna say a 2 out of 5 just for trying something different, even though the rest of it was pretty weak and it was a short fight in general. Lightsaber on lightsaber.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
But for the emotional impact, it's basically nothing. The only thing I will give
I don't know who
point.
this robot guy is, and he just died, so whatever.
Right? Okay, sure. Yeah. I do give a half point because I feel like that line about blasters being so uncivilized is just perfect. Like, that is Obi-Wan's character, and it does play.
It ties to the other films,
Yeah. So that's worth a half point in my book. So that gives that fight a 0.5 on the emotional scale.
Yeah. So we're actually pretty much out of time. So maybe we'll have to do the other lightsaber fights.
Part 2 of Part 2.
In the next podcast. Yeah. Our lightsaber reviews part 2.2. So we're going to wrap it up for this week. We've been pretty negative so far, but we have some more positive things to say about some of the other fights, I think.
Coming up next time on this installment, we will be slightly more positive about some things.
Slightly more positive about some things. Just wait till we get to Rebels, and
oh my goodness,
that's going to be amazing.
Yep. All right. Keep that for those of you that have watched Rebels. Just know that someday it will be amazing when we talk about it.
I love it. All right. Thanks. Be sure to subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Get on Facebook if you want to chat with us. Ask us questions. We love to interact with you guys.
Yeah, and we do have quite a few episode ideas, but feel free to throw out some more. We're always looking for more things that we're going to want to talk about. So keep those coming.
And may the Force be ever in your favor.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I took that just now. Deal with it.